Trump orders massive strike on Iran's key oil island. Middle East tensions explode. The world is asleep, but in a small, dimly lit room in Florida, the course of human history is being rewritten with a single pen stroke. I'm sitting here looking at the reports coming in, and folks, I have chills. At this very moment, as you watch this, the sky over the Persian Gulf isn't dark anymore. It's glowing. President Trump just did what the experts said would start a global fire. He gave the order. Operation Epic Fury is no longer a plan, it is a reality. At his direct command, U.S. Central Command has executed the most powerful bombing raid in the history of the Middle East. They didn't just hit a base, they obliterated every single military target on Karg Island, Iran's crown jewel. I can tell you right now, I've never seen anything like this. This wasn't a warning shot. This was a total removal of Iran's ability to threaten our ships. While the DC elites were tucked in their warm beds, our boys in the Navy and Air Force were delivering a message that had been overdue for 40 years. The message, don't touch our flag. But here is the most shocking part that the mainstream media is going to bury. Trump had the power to wipe the entire island off the map, to send global oil to $300 and crush the world economy. But he chose a different path. He spared the oil infrastructure. Why? Because, as he put it, he has decency. He gave them one last chance to stop the madness at the Strait of Hormuz. Cliffhanger. But as the smoke cleared over the Gulf, the world realized this wasn't just a skirmish, it was the start of a total global shift. And what happened next in the halls of Tehran will leave you in absolute disbelief. Why does this matter to you? I'll tell you why. Because for the last 3 weeks, Iran has been trying to hold your retirement hostage by effectively closing the Strait of Hormuz. They weren't just attacking ships, they were attacking your gas tank, your grocery bill, and your 401k. I've been watching the charts, and it's terrifying. Oil prices surged past $100 a barrel yesterday. If the strait stays closed, we aren't talking about inflation, we're talking about an economic heart attack. For those of you who worked 40 years to enjoy your golden years, this isn't just foreign policy. This is a direct threat to your ability to afford life in the country you built. The stakes couldn't be higher. Iran thought they could use the oil card to force America into a weak deal. They thought they could bully us into accepting a nuclear-armed regime. They calculated that we were too tired, too divided, and too afraid of a forever war to fight back. But they forgot one thing. They forgot who is in the Oval Office. They forgot that when you push a lion into a corner, he doesn't negotiate, he strikes. This strike on Karg Island was a surgical removal of the gun Iran was holding to the head of the global economy. Cliffhanger. If the Strait of Hormuz closes tonight, the America we knew yesterday is gone. And one man knew that better than anyone. But the villains in this story were about to make a fatal mistake. Let's talk about the villains for a moment. For years, the leadership in Tehran has acted with a sense of total invincibility. They've funded the groups that attacked our embassies, they've harassed our sailors, and they've laughed at the red lines of the past. The new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khomeini, thought he could step into his father's shoes and play the same old game of cat and mouse. He stood before his people just days ago and promised that all American oil and energy infrastructure will turn to ashes. He spoke with such arrogance, such total disregard for the power he was provoking. But look at the contradiction. While they preach death to America, their elites live in luxury. While the Iranian people struggle in a collapsing economy, they are a regime built on sand, held together by fear and propaganda. They truly believed that because we value peace, we are weak. They mistook our restraint for cowardice. I've been tracking their movements, and they were smug. They were reinforcing Karg Island with new mines and missile batteries, thinking they could turn the Gulf into a private lake. They were so busy plotting our downfall that they didn't see the shadow of the B-2 bombers until it was too late. Cliffhanger. They thought they could bully a lion. They were wrong, because they forgot who was sitting behind the resolute desk, and he was about to unleash a storm they couldn't imagine. Now think back. Remember 2020. Remember when the experts said killing Soleimani would start World War III? They were wrong then, and they're wrong now. President Trump has always operated on a single powerful principle: peace through strength. I've followed this man's career for decades, and whether you love him or hate him, you have to admit, He does not play by the old, failed rules of Washington. He doesn't want forever wars. He's the man who wants to bring our troops home. But he also knows that the only way to keep the peace is to make the price of war too high for our enemies to pay. I've watched him in the Oval Office, surrounded by generals who wanted to do things the standard way, the way that leads to 20-year quagmires. Trump said no. He wanted a strike that was fast, brutal, and so technologically superior that the enemy wouldn't even know what hit them. This is a man who carries the weight of 330 million people on his shoulders. For those of you who remember the strength of the Reagan years, this feels familiar. It's the refusal to apologize for being the greatest nation on earth. It's the understanding that an American president's first and only duty is to protect you. Cliffhanger. The critics called him a warmonger. The media panicked. But wait until you hear what he said to the Iranian leadership in private during the heat of the strike. As the missiles hit, the world went into a total tailspin. I was watching the live feeds, and the red phone was ringing off the hook. Russia was calling, frantic. Israel went to level 5 inches alert. The United Nations was calling for an emergency session to condemn the escalation. But while the bureaucrats in New York were typing up their useless resolutions, the reality on the ground was changing. In Baghdad, the US Embassy came under fire. In Saudi Arabia, our employees were told to shelter in place. This is the chaos the media loves to highlight, but I see it differently. I see the final desperate thrashing of a dying regime. In Washington, the deep state was already leaking stories to the New York Times, trying to claim this strike was unauthorized or illegal. They are more afraid of Trump's success than they are of Iran's missiles. They want him to fail, even if it means America loses. But you could feel the tension in the air, that thick, heavy silence that happens right before a storm becomes a hurricane. While the elites debated, our pilots were already refueling over the Gulf for the next wave. Cliffhanger. While DC debated, the missiles were already hitting their second targets. And that's when the real bombshell dropped, the footage that changed everything. The footage is finally out, and folks, it is a mic drop for the ages. Every single naval mine storage facility, every missile bunker, the entire military airport, gone. In one night, the US military totally obliterated the teeth of the Iranian Navy. I'm looking at the damage assessments, and it's breathtaking. We used weapons so sophisticated that we hit 90 targets with 0 civilian casualties reported by the Iranians themselves. We showed them that we can see through their bunkers, we can bypass their sensors, and we can reach out and touch them whenever we want. This wasn't just a military victory, it was a psychological collapse for the IRGC. They realized in that moment that they have no ability to defend anything we want to attack. As Trump posted on Truth Social, there is nothing they can do about it. But the most powerful part, we left the oil pumps standing. We showed the world that we aren't there to destroy a nation. We are there to enforce the law of the sea. We showed decency where they show terror. It was the ultimate display of a superpower's restraint and power combined into one perfect strike. Cliffhanger. The message was sent loud and clear, but the response from the American people? That was the most shocking part of all. Social media is absolutely erupting. I've been scrolling through the comments, and the hashtags are trending. #EpicFury, #TrumpStrength, #StraightOpen. The silent majority isn't silent anymore. I see veterans, men who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, posting with tears in their eyes, saying they finally feel like the shackles are off our military. I see families who are tired of being told that America is in permanent decline, finally standing tall. Of course, the celebrities and the pundits are crying chaos. They are terrified. They are calling it a national security nightmare. But they don't understand the heart of this country. They don't understand that for the person who has watched their country be insulted and mocked on the world stage for years, this strike felt like a homecoming. The ripple effect is huge. Other nations are now sending ships to join our naval escorts. The coalition of the willing is back, because for the first time in a long time, there is a leader worth following. Cliffhanger. The elites are terrified of this strength. But for those of us who remember what a strong America looks like, this wasn't war, this was justice. I want to take a moment to reflect on why this matters to our soul as a nation. We live in a world that has forgotten that liberty has a price. We've been told for too long that we should just get along, that we should manage the decline, and that we should apologize for our success. But history teaches us a different lesson. It teaches us that weakness is a provocation. When you allow a bully to close a trade route, you aren't avoiding war, you are inviting a bigger one. By striking now, we are actually saving lives in the long run. This is about dignity. It's about the fact that an American passport should be a shield, not a target. It's about the belief that our children should inherit a world where the bad actors are afraid of us, rather than us being afraid of them. For my friends who are over 50, over 65, you remember an America that stood for something. You remember when the world looked to us for leadership. Tonight, regardless of your politics, you saw a flash of that America again. You saw a country that refuses to be intimidated. Cliffhanger: we don't seek war, but we never flee from it. Because at the end of the day, there is only one superpower left standing, and it's up to you to keep it that way. Folks, we are living through history. The strike on Karg Island has changed the board. The Strait of Hormuz will open, gas prices will come tumbling down, and the American spirit is being renewed. But the fight isn't over. The media will try to spin this as a disaster. The politicians will try to use it to divide us. That's why I need you to be part of this movement. If you believe in peace through strength, if you believe that America should never apologize for defending its people, I need you to speak up. Comment strength below if you stand with our troops tonight. Let's show the world that the silent majority is louder than ever. And if you want to stay updated on the real news, the news the mainstream won't tell you, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. We are just getting started. I'm your channel name, and I'll be right here with you every step of the way as we watch the return of a strong America. God bless our troops, and God bless the United States of America.